This is Russ. Yeah, time to talk about e-bikes again. Yeah, there was a comment made. Who was it? Pedro asked me to talk a little bit about my thoughts on the current regulations that are happening in New Jersey. And I said, well, let's talk about California as well. Yeah. Now, I mentioned before, I didn't really want to talk too much about these regulations anymore because I'm getting sick and tired of it. I think we're all getting sick and tired of regulations. But some changes have occurred, and that's going to affect people. So he says, what's your thoughts on the situation in New Jersey? Right. So for those who don't know, apparently, from my understanding, is they signed into law, and somebody said it may not happen for a year, but regardless, they signed into a law that said that e-bikes will now be classified as motor vehicles in New Jersey, which means you'll have to get it licensed and you will have to get insurance. What's my thoughts? Well, obviously my thoughts are I don't like it, and I think anyone who owns an e-bike is not going to like it either. I mean, can you imagine having to license all of your e-bikes? Many of us have more than one e-bike, including YouTubers. What do? I mean, if they send us an e-bike for review, are we supposed to license each and every one of those things? Bad time to be a YouTuber in New Jersey who do e-bikes. So, yeah, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to license everything like that. I mean, you send me something to review, I may not even keep it long enough to make it even worth getting a license for it, right? So, I mean, in that case, I would move, if I was a YouTuber and lived in New Jersey, I would do the review and get it out the door. Yeah, I mean, sell the e-bike at that point. You don't want to be paying for licensing for every e-bike that's given to you. That's just too much. And for the average person, you know, to have to deal with this too. I mean, at this point, people are making comments that they don't even have insurance that you can buy for e-bikes to the type that they would require. But if it is true, and again, just going based on hearsay, what others have said, it could take a year, maybe even before all this takes into effect. Who knows? I don't know when it's supposed to happen. I don't live in New Jersey, so I have no idea. Let's talk about California, okay? Now, I have also seen people said that California wants 750 watt peak power, max power. You cannot exceed 750 watts on your motor in order for you to be legal. Well, as we all know, all the 750 nominal motors that people are selling, companies are selling, way exceed the 750 watts, okay? Literally every bike that I have here, I live in Illinois, by the way, will exceed the 750 watts. So what does that mean? That means you might need to buy bikes that are like 250, 350 watts, okay? And so that when it peaks out, it'll peak at 750 max. Well, hey, that's a big difference. I mean, what about the people who already own e-bikes, right? Does that mean all of their e-bikes are now illegal? And what about companies selling into California? Do they have to now modify all their bikes or just come out with California-only versions that, you know, are way powered down, like 250 watts or something that'll peak higher? You're talking a big change at this point. And really, if you think about it, who cares what the wattage is? Really, who really cares? If you put a 20 mile per hour limit of speed, who cares if that thing peaks at 1500 watts or whatever? If the guy doesn't go past 20 miles an hour, isn't that the more important thing, right? Versus, you know, talking about wattages. I mean, that really is the same equivalent of saying, hey, you know, I've got this Corvette, you know, it's got all this horsepower, right? But I can't drive past 55 miles an hour on the highway if it's posted at 55. So the whole point, I think, you know, it doesn't seem right to regulate e-bikes based on wattages. It really should be based on rider, should be based on the rider. If the rider rides to 20 miles per hour and he doesn't exceed 20 miles an hour, even if he had a 10,000 watt machine, what difference does that make? He's still not passing 20 miles an hour. You see what I'm saying? This is how I see it, okay? So I think if they're going to regulate by speed, not by wattages, because really that means all of the e-bike companies will have to change all their e-bikes, and all the ones that you own now will probably have to be tossed out, yeah, to stay within the law in California. Now we understand too that a lot of the problems that happen that's causing a lot of regulations are mostly younger riders, but there are older riders who also, you know, ride a little dangerously. It really should be by the rider, but also by the age. I do believe that you need to know the rules of the road, right? So unless they have a driver's license or have gone through driver's education, I don't think kids should be riding e-bikes. That's my own personal feeling. You know, they could, if they did this, okay, if you have kids that want to ride e-bikes and they're willing to change laws, if they said that the kid went through a driver's education type of class, you know, rules of the road type class for his e-bike, and then would you allow them to ride e-bikes? I would say, yeah. If they fully understand that this is how you do it, this is where you can't go past this, you can't do this, you know, you gotta be safe on this and that, then I would say the age is not the issue. Yeah. But at this point, that's not the case. So the only thing that we can guarantee the kids understand the proper way of, you know, being on the road is driver's education classes, right? So that would mean the kids would need to be at least 16 years old in order to go through driver's ed. So in my mind, that kind of regulation I'm okay with. I just want them to know what's safe and not safe on the road with cars, okay? So that's my thoughts on the whole issue between New Jersey and also California's current laws. Now, the thing is if California adopts this ruling with the wattages, then it's going to trickle down to all the other states. Yeah, it always happens that way. Once one accepts, others start thinking maybe that's a good thing. You know, I think really the people who are making these laws really need to start understanding how people ride and ride an e-bike themselves so they understand it before they make the law. Yeah. 20 miles an hour, okay, I prefer to go a little bit faster than that. You know, I'm usually around 22, 23 usually. But I could live with 20 if I had to, okay? I don't seem to be able to live with 12 or 15 miles an hour, but I could live with 20. And but don't limit our motors because it doesn't matter what the motor is if the limit stays at 20. Does that make sense? Yeah, so that's my 2 cents on it, okay? Put a comment in the video today. Let me know what you think about these two things that are going on and whether it should be speed regulated or whether it should be wattage regulated. Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, like I said, you know, it's like getting a car, like a Corvette or something that has lots of power, but you're really not supposed to ride that car, drive that car past the speed limit. So if that car has a lot of power and they stay at the speed limit, who cares what the power is, right? Really, who cares? The key is that you stay within, you know, the speed that's posted. Yeah, they don't regulate the cars. I could buy a junky car that eventually will get to 55 miles an hour, and I could drive that. Or I can drive a car that'll hit 55 miles an hour in 2 point something seconds of time, right? Nothing stops me from doing that. Why are they stopping e-bikes? Hit the like and subscribe button, put a comment. Talk to you guys next time.